my lecture today. Of course, today we are starting consulting that we also going to call collaboration. And of course, I'm going to walk you through what do we actually understand by statistical consultation, and what are the kinds of necessary machinery you need to put in place before you'll be able to achieve the objective of the clients. Okay, so in the agenda today, course, what is statistical consulting? Then I'm also going to walk you through consulting meetings. You're also going to watch a video. There's a link to watch a video, which I'm still going to show you. And I'm going to show you as given in association called LISA, in the United States. Okay, uh, the kind of effective process that you need to put in place before you can have a successful consultation or collaboration, then setting expectations. Now, let's get started with statistical consulting. I think what I'm going to first do is to write, well, what do we understand by statistical consulting? Okay, now give me 1 second. Okay, so by statistical consulting, okay, so statistical consulting, okay, involves providing expert advice, okay, or assistance on the appropriate statistical method and data analysis to individuals. I'm going to underline individuals, to individuals and organizations, okay, organizations face with data problem, or let me say data challenge. Okay, so when you take a look at the definition that I actually provided right now, so you're going to see that we provide, expert advice because the consultants, the clients, they don't have an expert statistical knowledge, and they need they actually have research projects that they are working on. Okay, they want to take a business decision. Okay, and of course, any data-driven initiative. Okay, any data-driven initiative. So they can't do it on their own, and that is the reason why they are seeking for statistical advice. And let me tell you this, we walk them through a lot of process, not just data analysis, not just choosing the best statistical method that work or data analysis. Even we actually walk them through whether to conduct survey or conduct experiment. The other time I walk you through type of studies, right? We have observational studies, we have experimental study, and not only that, we also help them in data preparation, because when you collect data from the field of inquiry, the data are massive in nature. Okay, you need to be able to uh, put them in a statistical form for analysis, which I call data cleaning. You're going to help them in data cleaning, data preparation, and so on like that. So that is it. So, of course, in statistical consultation, one person don't consult. Just like they say, it takes two to tango, right? So we got two, or at times it could be more than two. But let's just say we got two parties, okay? We got clients, we got consultant. At times it could be one-on-one. It could be a team on a team. Does that make sense? It could be a team on a team. It could be a team of statisticians, okay, with a team of consultants, with a team of clients. So the client here, it's actually someone seeking your advice, your statistical advice, okay? And of course, is a research or is a researcher. It can be an investigator. And you know what? Let me tell you this. Why do they need statistics? Why do they need statistical? Why do they need the knowledge of statistical experts? Because with statistics, we can park in everybody's garage. I'm going to say that again. With statistical knowledge, we can park our statistical vehicle in anybody's garage, which means statistics is applicable, okay, from agriculture to zoology. So what I'm trying to talk about in essence is, of course, we live in a stochastic environment. We live in a probabilistic space. And of course, for somebody to be able to understand environment that we live, whether political or economic or business environment or and so on like that, of course, that person is either you actually pursue a degree in statistics or you seek for statistical input, okay? And that is the reason why they need us. Now, we are the consultants, okay? The expert providing the solution, okay? So a statistician. And of course, this is the way it's actually going to go, okay? You're going to go from, if you take it, look at this guy. Oh, give me 1 second. I'm going to use my pen now. Okay, so take a look at this. So we got a client problem. Then that will be translated to statistical problem. Let me tell you this. I've listened to, I think in the summer, this last summer, I coordinated undergraduate summer consulting program. And of course, I interview a lot of researchers. The researchers seeking to collaborate with statistics with the School of Statistics. And of course, I had the opportunity of listening to researchers across field, okay, from political science, from agriculture to economy and so on like that. Okay, I told you the other time, okay, with our statistical vehicle, we can park in everybody's garage. Now, let me tell you, whenever you listen to them, okay, we don't apply statistical methodology immediately. Whatever data you have need to be converted into statistical problem. If it is not statistical problem, you cannot apply statistical knowledge. But originally, okay, the information you receive is not statistical in nature. You as an expert, you are going to be the one that will convert that. That is synonymous with programming in mathematics. When you see equations, right? When you see equations, symbols, notations, those depict reality. Okay, that is not the original way the reality was. Okay, they were converted into that. So which means if a mathematician want to solve a problem, what they're going to do is to convert into equations, then they will apply mathematical knowledge. So we're going to do the same thing here. The problem that they brought have to be translated into statistical problem. Now, after translated into statistical problem, but let me tell you this. You need to be able to understand the problem. Let me ask this question. Are you sure there's nobody in this class that is doing another class assignment right now? Because when you are in my class, I need you to be focused. You pay for the service. The moment you don't understand what I'm saying, please ask questions. Does that make sense? So please ask questions whenever you don't understand. Okay. Now you need to first listen attentively to the client for you to be able to know what to translate, because there are different statistical languages that any problem can be translated into, depending on the problem. You need to be able to understand the problem. It's just like I'm having an interpreter. Maybe I'm having a interpreter or translator. Maybe I'm speaking with this guy and he doesn't understand my language and I don't understand his language. Then we need an interpreter, right? Now, for us to be able to be on the same page, then the interpreter has to do a very great job. Does that make sense? The interpreter has to be, let me tell you, there's something happened recently. The Turkish president Erdogan, was having meeting with Putin, the president of Russia, and the interpreter said, the Turkish president said a different thing, but interpreter now interpreted it to Putin as we are ready for war. So, and that was not what he said. You can see the implication of that. And you're also going to have a very serious consequences if you don't listen to attentively to a client. What you're going to translate, you're actually going to translate into a very wrong statistical issue. When you translate something into a very wrong statistical issue, of course, you're actually going to use the wrong methodology. Does that make sense? So, and that is the reason why when you translate into statistical problem, then you can go into statistical arsenal of methods, to actually bring out the most appropriate. Then you're going to get statistical solution. Now, let me tell you this. By the time you convert that into statistical problem, the client does not understand statistical jargons. So after providing the solution, then you need to be able to go back to the client again and translate your result into a language that the client is going to understand. Take a look at that. Is that not interesting? So, and that is the reason why this very course is called consultation and communication. Okay, you need to be able to communicate. You've used an appropriate statistical methodology, but by the time you actually maybe presenting results or solution to a problem to the client, you're using statistical ambiguity, like using very huge or powerful statistical terminologies that the client will not even understand. So what we're trying to say is you got to make sure you simplify. You simplify it. Okay? Any question about the first page? Any question? You're good, right? Okay. Now I want to move to the next slide. Now in the next slide, we have what we call power process for a consulting meeting. I needed to take a look at power. The first P means prepare. Okay, the second letter O means open. The third W means work. And E is end, and R reflects. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at this. Is that not interesting? Take a look at that. That's what it means. And this was actually given. Okay, I'm going to show you where this was actually given. Anytime you're preparing, anytime you want to have a consulting meeting, you need to put into consideration power, and that's what it means. Now, I'm going to show you something right now. Before I go into all of that, let me see. Take a look at this. There is an organization in the United States. And of course, I'm going to tell you, I knew this organization before coming to United States. LISA. LISA actually means Laboratory for Interdisciplinary Statistical Analysis. And that is domiciled at the Department of Statistics, Virginia Tech. Somebody has about Virginia Tech. It's a university in the United States. Now they provide, they do consultation, they actually put some kind of necessary machinery in place to ensure an effective consultation and communication between a consultant and a client. Now, if you take a look at that, that was why I said the power process for statistical collaboration meetings that we actually call prepare, open, work, hand, and reflect. Now, let's talk about prepare. Of course, if you're going for any meeting, make sure you always prepare. Okay? This actually fall under prepare. You got to be mentally and physically ready for the meeting. Okay? I remember when I was to have meeting with some researchers in the last summer. Okay? They have to send me some information ahead of the meeting. Because if you don't send me information ahead of the meeting, there's no way I will be able to manage my time asking questions. Does that make sense? So you got to make sure, and that was why we said mentally, prepare mentally and physically. Then look at the next one. Review the materials the client sent to you, because I will advise before meeting them, advise that they send the materials ahead of the meeting. Take your time, have the opportunity, go through the material. You may not necessarily understand the material sent to you, when you go through, but you're actually going to have an average knowledge of what the client goal is. Okay, then specifically the initial request for help. Now review any unfamiliar terminology or statistical method in the request. Let me tell you, I'm going to tell you based on my experience. When they consult me like that, some of them may say, oh, I want to use, maybe they are aware of certain statistical methodology, but they don't know how to use it. Or some of them, they are at crossroad. They have like a degree of doubt on whether to use it or not. Okay. So, but because we have training in statistics, we actually know statistical methodology that work. That's why you are actually training. Okay. Then arrive at the meeting room early. Okay. You arrive early to be sure it is prepared for the meeting. Then you tie it up. So when you arrive early, there are some kind of stuff that that I'm actually going to say maybe unofficial things like that will fall for take place before the meeting, like greetings and so on like that. Okay, so mentally prepare yourself for the meeting. Okay, do what you need to do so you can focus on the client, and these are our research or business questions. So you got to make sure. Then you also need to have a flexible plan, because at times we live in a stochastic environment where maybe as a result of unforeseen circumstances, anything can happen that we may want to reschedule a meeting. You need to be flexible. Does that make sense? Okay, is there anyone who doesn't understand P? This is P from power, which is prepare. Any question on this? Any question? You are good, right? Okay. Now I want to go to I think what I'm going to do today, I'm only going to, take you through the first 10 slide. Okay, this is we are on 8 now. We got 2 more to go today because I want us to take our time. Okay, now take a look at this. Open. That is O, right? We're taking that from power, right? Open. Now you open the meeting correctly to set up the plan for the rest of the meeting. Okay, we believe when you open the meeting correctly, you need to be able to let the clear know what the agenda, after this is going to be that, after that is going to be that, because you also need to plan within a time frame. Okay, now the meeting is going to start. Of course, let me tell you this, in this material, there's a link where you're going to watch a video, and in that very video, you're going to see an hypothetical example on how good to consult and how bad to consult. Don't forget, you're still going to have an assignment where you're going to work. Okay, I remember this. Before I normally peer student randomly, but I don't want to do that more. I don't want to do that anymore. You need to choose a partner you want to work with. Okay? So choose a partner, you're going to be 2. In a situation where you don't have partner, like, let me see. If you are odd number, okay, if you are odd number, okay, that person needs to tell me. Actually, the person is going to do it. The person is going to do it. I'm going to recommend another person that may not necessarily be a member of this class. Does that make sense? I actually you're going to practice and demonstrate that. But the knowledge that you need to demonstrate that is, before of us walk you through all of this, then you're going to watch a video, then it is expected that you practice what you see. Okay, now in the open now, we are on the open, which is the second letter in the power. Okay, introduce yourself to the client, of course. Every meeting starts with an introduction. Okay, and let me tell you, you got to smile, shake hands, and make eye contact. Just like what I'm doing now. What I'm doing now, there are some people that really know something. They know how to teach, but they don't know how to conduct a class because it's not their fault, because they find it difficult to make an eye contact with in the set of individuals. Because when you make an eye contact and you smile, okay, don't just go and like, because you're going to scare the client away. So we don't want a situation. So you got to be friendly, okay? Got to be friendly with the client. You allow this client to have what I call sense of belonging. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I'm expecting all of this to play out in your video. Okay? I want to see the way you smile, the way I'm going to grade. I want to see the way you smile, the way you shake. Okay? Now, any question on that? Okay, we see on that open, which is O, the second letter in power. Okay, time conversation. Check if the scheduled meeting times still work for everyone and whether they can stay longer if needed. Let me tell you this. Even though ahead of time, we said we're going to meet for 1 hour, right? Anything can happen between now and the day of meeting. Emergency, you know that, right? Anything can happen. Then you still need to be able to, confirm from the client, can we still do this for 1 hour? Or if need arises, or because at times, depending on the nature of the discussion and the problem, it could take longer. And you can say, okay, will you mind like staying longer than 1 hour? The person may say, oh, yes, or the person may say no. Does that make sense? So please ask question. Okay, so does it still work for you to meet for 1 hour? Okay, you're gonna ask that. Then if the meeting is being productive, then you also need to ask whether you could have an extended hour. Okay, because let me tell you something. whatever you do, you want to satisfy the client. I wanted to see that as an, that is synonymous with the relationship between a seller or a producer and a customer. When a customer visits your store, you're actually going to make sure you do everything to secure this customer, to make the customer comfortable, and to make the customer to think about coming again, to your store, visiting your store. So you're also going to do the same thing here, because there are other consultants out there as well. Okay. Now, the wanted conversation. We're still under open. Okay. Wanted conversation. Ask what the client wants to accomplish during this meeting. And I know the client is actually going to start with the introduction of the problem, the scope of the problem. Also going to tell you, you may not necessarily ask about the aim and objective, because by the time is, doing the introduction, it's going to tell you all of that. Okay. Now, paraphrase the client wants in your own words and ask, is there anything X? Okay. And another thing I normally like is when somebody talk, if I really want to know whether I get the person, maybe I get what the person is saying, I may repeat what the person said. I'm going to say, do you mean this? And the person says, okay, that's what I mean. And the person may say, no. You're just like today now, I've asked you, do you understand this lecture? Stuff like that. Because we don't want to have a very wrong perception. When you have a very wrong perception, you're actually going to, by the time you are translating the problem into statistical problem, that will be done wrongly. Does that make sense? That will be done wrongly. Imagine you have a very wrong interpretation of the problem. You end up using statistical methodology. Oh my God, you've committed a lot of effort to that. And at the end of the day, the result from the finding, the recommendation from the finding does not even see the light of the day. We don't want that. We want to avoid, we don't want that to happen. And that is the reason why we got to ask questions. Okay, any question? You understand that? Okay, now summarize and prioritize a plan for the rest of the meeting from the client want. Like I said, you are actually taking everything from the client, from the client list. But we want to satisfy the client. Willing, determine if you are willing to accomplish what the client wants. Let me tell you something. If you don't have a competence for something, don't fake it. Don't say, oh, I can do it. Or maybe if you don't really understand at that particular, or maybe you may have what is it called? Senior colleagues, something you don't understand, you can discuss with them. Or you can tell the you don't necessarily need to give all the information to the clients in the meeting, because you're still going to have series of meetings. But if you know that completing that task does not fall in your area of competence, don't fake it, because it's going to tell. Let me tell you, you cannot hide. You can, just like nobody can hide a smoke. If you make a recommendation, okay, maybe you use a particular statistical methodology that is wrong, okay, and you don't want to, you don't really understand the client problem, and you apply a statistical methodology that it means the recommendation from that is actually is not going to see the light of the day. And those people, the clients, they want results. If you tell them on average, this is what is going to happen using your model, and it doesn't happen, they are not going to come back to you, and that will affect your reputation. Does that make sense? Okay, now able. Determine if you are able to accomplish what the client wants. So you need to be able to determine that you know your competency. Okay, you know your competence, and of course, that's why it's good to collaborate. Like in some articles that I've published, of course, researchers, they work together. Area that I don't really understand, then another person is going to come in. And that's why when you are doing consulting, you are not going to be the only person. You're going to have a team, right? You're going to have a team. Okay, so I think I discussed power today. I discussed P in power, and I discussed O in open. Okay, and I think I'm going to go back to here. Okay, I think I've talked about all of that. Now, gathering information. Okay, in gathering information, you need to ask good questions. The same way, there's something they call, is it SWAT calling in the United States? Like when somebody call 911 and nothing happened, what do they call it? Is it SWAT? Can somebody remind me? Like somebody just called 911 for fun, like nothing happened. Okay. That is not good, right? That is like waste of resources. Okay. Now, when you ask information, when you ask questions, not just questions, good questions. In gathering of information, you need to be able to ask good questions. It's going to look as if it's the same way, by the time somebody call 911, let's say something really happened and somebody call 911, I know they're still going to, or the person is going to, or the 911 official is still going to ask some questions. Oh, where do you live? What is happening now? If you decide to provide a wrong information, what is going to happen? It may be harmful to you because the 911 may not come to your location, or even if they're going to come, it's going to take them a longer time to come. What about in hospital? If a patient is sick, I want to believe, there's going to be a kind of consultation between the two of them, between the doctor, between the physician and the patient. If the patient can talk, oh, how do you feel? Tell me this, tell me that. Because why do they ask that kind of information? Why do they ask that kind, sorry, why they ask that kind of questions? Because they needed information, because that is going to guide them on how to effectively treat the patient. So when you ask good questions, you're actually going to gather information. Okay, the information that will be very useful to you. Okay, and also I said, a client problem is never context free. Okay, and to get what a context of a problem, we need to ask good questions. But you know what? You're going to start with the big questions, then you zoom it down to smaller questions. Okay, so that is the way. Then you adjust your questions by building on the answer on the client. When you ask question, the client is going to provide a response, and maybe somebody you ask, let's say I ask this guy a complicated question now, and I look at the response, then I'm not going to ask more complicated. I have to adjust, you understand? And I shouldn't use an ambiguous language. Okay, I should use very simple English, if I really, or language, if I want to do that. Now, these are general questions. How do you collect your data matter? You remember the other time when we're dealing with type of studies, we can collect data through observational studies where you conduct survey, and you can collect data using experimental study. And I told you the other time, an experimental study has a very huge statistical power compared to observational study, even though if you follow what Hill said in his paper in 1975, we got guidelines to evaluate, how we can conclude causation from association. So because the method of data collection could also affect the choice of statistical method, and that is the reason why we need to be able to ask, how do they collect their data? Do they use questionnaire to do that? What type of method do they use to do that? What kind of sampling approach? Do they use a simple random sample? Do they use a stratified sampling? Do they use a cluster sampling? Do they use a purposive sampling? And so on like that. Then what is the motivation for the study? That's very, very important. What motivates them? Okay. So then you also need a clarified question. Are you including graduate students in your population? Okay. There are some studies where there was I think I had a consultation with someone before. What they were trying to do is they want to see when somebody is drunk, they believe that when they fall to the prefer hand. Like, we have right and the left hand, right? When somebody is drunk, let's say I'm using right to write. I use this to eat. Okay, when I'm drunk and I fall, they said the theory said they are more likely to fall to this side. Okay, now that's a theory. That's what they want to confirm. And if they want to do that, at times they have to make use of those who are allowed to drink by law, age of 21 and above, and that may be some graduate students. Okay, you may not want to try it out with undergraduate, except if the undergraduate is 21, it's 21 and above. Okay, according to the law in the United States, if you want to do that in the United States. So in that situation, it's actually going to perform an experimental study where it's going to ask those who have who use their right hand most and those who use their left hand most, is going to ask them to drink to an intoxication level and ask them to walk apart and see. It's going to monitor the time they fall and going to see whether they fall on their favorite hand. Okay, so therefore, how many days did you record the data? That also matter. Okay, so is it a repeated measurement where you collect data from the same person in more than one occasion, or is not? Those are the kind of questions you ask, when you are gathering information, and that's going to help you a lot. Now, we're still on gathering information. Understand the answers. You ask question, right? Okay, they're going to provide you answers. Make sure you understand the answers. If you don't understand the answers, I'm going to say you should ask again. Okay, so that was why I said we also need to make sure that we understand the answers. An important skill for doing this is paraphrasing, okay, what we have understood and asking if we understand correctly. I said it the other time. Somebody says something, I'm going to repeat that. Okay, I'm going to say, oh, is this what you mean? And person can confirm that. Say that yes or no. I think I demonstrated that here. Okay, so we actually stopping at page 10 today. On Wednesday, we're going to start, we're going to start from page 10. So we're going to start from, I think we've done, let me see. We've done up to open. We're going to take the W. Oh my God, W. That is where, that is the body. That is the way, that is the work where you're going to have a lot of stuff. Okay. But you know what? I'm going to start this, but you can read that. It's already published. Okay. Is there any question before I go? In case you don't know, I publish my recordings, so my YouTube channel. Okay. But make sure you look at the title because I also publish, other courses as well. So look at the title. Okay. Is there any question before I go today? Is there any question? You're good, right? Like I said, do not hide your feelings. You know what's going to be my joy here in this course? When the least score is 99. I'm going to be so happy. Okay, I'll be the happiest professor ever. Okay, I know, there are some of you that may not want to ask question now. I know, but you know what? You need to set up a meeting with me, meet with me during my office hour, and whatever we discuss will be treated with absolute degree of confidentiality. Okay, in the absence of question, make sure you stay safe and have a lovely day. Bye for now, everyone.